Hello, everybody. Friends, family, people I talk to all the time, people I don't talk to all the time, people I've never met before in my life. Hello and welcome. I'm very, very excited. This is episode 1. This is episode 1 of BretFlix, right? Clever name, I know. Sadly, I'm not the one who came up with that name. I do have to give a shout out to my buddy Eric Smith. He was the one who came up with it. We're hanging out one night and he just like looks up at me, laughs. I don't know what he's laughing about. And he just goes, BretFlix. And instantly I knew that that BretFlix was going to be this show and that I had to do it. So thank you, Eric, for changing my life in such a way. Now, BretFlix is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be me recommending what movies you should watch on Netflix. I hate one of the things I hate the most is you're sitting around, you don't know what to watch on Netflix. All the movies you think you're gonna like, you've already seen so many times. You don't want to watch it again. You want something new, but you don't know where to turn. I'm gonna be where to turn. Hopefully, I can introduce you guys to some movies you have either been curious about but haven't been willing to try yet, or movies you never heard of. Something like that, because there is a great catalog on Netflix. They don't have everything, but they certainly have more than enough to keep you entertained, hopefully. So I'm gonna take that big undertaking. Hopefully you guys enjoy what I do, and yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. I hope to make this a regular thing. This is episode 1. I hope to kind of my plan is to try to do at least 2 episodes every week, to review a few movies every single episode, give you guys a good variety, So yeah, let's get this started. So I figure the best way to start out episode 1 is I really want to start strong, and great news. The great news is that Netflix just added every single movie that was written and directed by the great Albert Brooks. Now, I understand a lot of you may not be familiar with Albert Brooks. He's a comedian. He's been around. He's been doing comedy since like the 70s. He's been doing movies since the 70s. He's a very prolific writer and actor, and he's also directed several movies. And they're all really funny. They're all really great. And it was kind of perfect timing. I get this idea to do this show, and at the same time, Netflix puts all these movies, all these great Albert Brooks films on Netflix, and it's like, I have to talk about these movies. I love all of his movies, and they're all really great. They're all really original, and so, like I said, I want to start out strong. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing an Albert Brooks-a-thon, pretty much. The first movie I review from every episode from now on is going to be an Albert Brooks film that he's written and directed and starred in, until I go through his whole filmography, and then I'm going to move on to something. Maybe I'll pick another theme, I don't know. But I guess I'm just going to start with his first film he directed. It's a movie called Real Life. It's a mockumentary, actually. It's a mockumentary before mockumentaries were really kind of a big thing. It does predate This Is Spinal Tap, and This Is Spinal Tap obviously is the greatest of them all. But it wasn't the first. A lot of people think it was the first. It actually wasn't. There was a few that came before it, from a few directors that were really ahead of their time. Albert Brooks made Real Life in 1979. Woody Allen actually made one called Take the Money and Run in 73, I believe. I could be wrong. I might have to fact check that one. But, yeah, so this is the first film Albert Brooks has written and directed. And I know I said kind of in my intro to this Brooks-a-thon that all of his movies are great. I might have to kind of step back and reiterate a little bit. Most of his movies are great. This one is not so great. It's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a good movie. It's a funny movie. It's really ahead of its time. It kind of like predicts reality television in a way, because the plot or the story of the film is Albert Brooks. He plays a filmmaker. He actually plays himself, and he has this idea where he wants to film a family every day over the course of an entire year. and he just wants to film their lives, and he wants to make a movie about, out of that footage. So it's a mockumentary about him making a documentary about a real family, and so it's a great concept. It has a lot of great scenes. There's a lot of funny stuff that happens, but the thing I don't really care for is a lot of the movie is pretty boring. Like there's a lot of scenes where nothing is really happening, and maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's kind of Albert Brooks commenting on real life. People don't do anything with their lives or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's what he was going for, but all I know is, most of this movie did bore me. There were enough scenes to kind of rectify that and to kind of save it. There's a lot of funny stuff. It has a great climax. The ending of the movie is pretty hysterical. But for the most part, it's kind of a movie I didn't care about. And also, it breaks its own rules, and this is something that drives me nuts about mockumentaries. Is that most mockumentaries will break their own rules. Like they'll have a cameraman interviewing somebody, and then it'll cut to another shot, which is another cameraman. But in that shot, you should see that other cameraman, but you don't. And it's like, if you're making a mockumentary, you got to make it completely legitimate. You have to have that stuff in there. You have to make it as real as possible. You can't break those rules because it totally takes you out of the illusion. And that happens all the time in this movie. And I know it's kind of a nitpicky thing to talk about and to criticize, but it is something that legitimately really bugs me. There's a lot of funny mockumentaries I've seen, like The Grand, or what was it called, Incident at Loch Ness, which would have been really great, but it kept breaking that rule, and it bugged the hell out of me. And also there are scenes in this movie that don't seem to be mockumentary footage. It's like it's directed and shot as if it was just a regular feature film, and there are no cameramen in the room at all. So it's like, what kind of movie was Albert Brooks really trying to make? It's almost like he couldn't fully commit to his concept in this. But other than that, like, those are kind of nitpicky criticisms I have. It's stuff that really bugs me, but it doesn't kill the whole movie. It is a funny movie. A lot of the movie is Albert Brooks just kind of hanging around doing his shtick, and trying to keep the whole production going, and because everyone doesn't have faith in it, and everyone wants to quit all the time, and so you get a lot of great Albert Brooks rants in this film. But other than that, I feel it's kind of forgettable. It's not nearly as good as his other movies. Like, everything he made after this is masterful, and this one doesn't quite measure up. But it's still an interesting movie. I mean, like I said, it was ahead of its time. There wasn't a lot like it when this movie came out, and so it's interesting to check out for sure. And it's also a pretty good introduction to Albert Brooks' comedy style and stuff. And so anyway, real life, kind of a mixed recommendation from me, but I do like this movie. I think you should check it out. So I think that first review went pretty well. At least I'm happy with it. I just reviewed it, and I was like, okay, not so bad, not so bad. Let's just go right into review number 2. Look, no pauses, no breaks. Let's just hop right into it, because I know you guys have stuff to do, and so do I. The second movie I'm going to review on this episode, and since it's the first episode, it's the second movie ever I'm doing on the show, is a film from one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. The guy's name is Steven Soderbergh. He's easily my top 5 favorite filmmakers. He's a big inspiration. He's made movies. He's made independent movies. He's made giant studio films. He's made funny movies and serious movies and dark movies. And his style is just so unique to him. He's a total original. The man is truly a genius. You have seen some of his movies. He made the Oceans movies, Oceans 11, Oceans 12, Oceans 13. He's also made a lot of really independent movies like Sex, Lies, and Videotape and King of the Hill, and some small movies, Girlfriend Experience and Bubble. But the one movie probably you guys would know of is Magic Mike. He did make Magic Mike. That movie is pretty awesome, I'll admit. He's a great filmmaker, and I don't know how many of his films are on Netflix. I should check that out, but just watch all of his movies. Anytime you come across a movie that says directed by Steven Soderbergh, you need to see it, because it's really, he's only made like 2 dull movies in his whole career, in my opinion, and even those are pretty fascinating. But the one I'm going to review on this show is a film he made in the year 2000. It's called Traffic. It's a multi-Oscar winning film. Has a humongous cast. Like, excuse me, it has like Benicio del Toro, Michael Douglas, even Topher Grace is in it. It has Catherine Zeta-Jones. It has sorry, I don't know why I'm spacing on this guy's name, because I love this guy. He's in so many movies that I love. Where is it? Why is he not right here on IMDb? Don Cheadle, that's his name. I am so ashamed that I spaced on his name, because I love Don Cheadle. He's one of my favorite actors. Anyway, and there's there's a lot more people in the movie you'll recognize, but multi-Oscar winner Benicio del Toro won an Oscar for this film. Steven Soderbergh won for Best Director. Got a lot of acclaim when it came out, and it's a movie that still holds up today. It's a really great film. Yeah, Traffic. It is about drug trafficking, and it kind of shows drug trafficking from kind of every point of view, like from the point of view of the traffickers, and from the point of view of the politicians who try to stop it, and from the point of view of the actual drug takers themselves. There's a lot going on. It's one of those you call it a hyperlink film, where there's a bunch of different characters that are loosely connected, but they each have like their own story going on, but they are somewhat related to another, and the film jumps back and forth between all these different stories. What's really fascinating about this movie, each story is shot with a very different visual style. Soderbergh's a big experimenter. Like, even when he's making serious movies, he's still thinking about the filmmaking process, and he's thinking a lot about, like, how can I tell this in a way you wouldn't expect to see it, and stuff like that. There's always those kinds of levels to his movies. There's the serious part of the drama, there's the comedy, there's the filmmaking, and there's the filmmaking aspect. I don't ever really want to get too topical on this show, but this is a movie that inspires a lot of thought about our drug laws and the war on drugs and stuff like that, and it's definitely a movie that's a lot smarter than I am, so I don't know if it has any like answers to these issues, but there is kind of a moment towards the end of the movie where there's a daughter who's addicted to drugs, and Michael Douglas is her father, and he kind of realizes that you can't, it doesn't matter how well you bring up a kid. they are gonna kind of make their own choices and do things you don't want them to do, and really you don't be mad at them for it. Just try to understand why they do what they do. So it's a really intense movie. There's a few moments where you want to cry, and there's a few moments that you get angry, just because it's just that engrossing of a film. It's a movie that probably won't date, because it's always going to be relevant. It's even if we were to like completely change our laws on drugs, like, this movie's still going to be relevant, because it's going to be about a time where we were cracking down and stuff, and it's gonna, hopefully we can learn our lessons and move on, and blah 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 blah. Like I said, I don't want to get very topical. I'm trying to avoid that, but this movie is going to inspire some political feelings. It's going to inspire some personal feelings. Everyone has their own different philosophies on drugs, and what drugs should be legal versus what shouldn't, and blah blah blah. This is a great film to turn to. It's one of my personal favorites. It's arguably Soderbergh's best movie, which says a lot, because every movie he makes is great. So Traffic, that's a movie I highly recommend. Do see that movie. Alright, now it's time for movie number 3. I'm going to make this the last movie of the episode, so if you're tired of watching, you don't have a whole lot longer to go till you make it to the end, and I appreciate everyone who's been watching so far. My third choice is a documentary, actually. It is a documentary from the great Errol Morris, probably the greatest of all documentarians. Made a lot of great movies, made The Thin Red Line, Standard Operating Procedure, Gates of Heaven. And this is a film he made in 2010 called Tabloid. Excuse me. Now, this movie, it's hard to really describe what this movie is about succinctly, because there's kind of two halves to it. Overall, it's about this woman named Joyce McKinney, and the first half of the movie is kind of about this major controversy that she had with the Mormon Church. And then the second half is kind of her life after that incident, and how tabloid magazines kind of painted a wrong picture of who she was, and you know, her infamy kind of just was blown up and made something that it definitely was not, and now she's living a life all alone. It's a hard movie to describe. It's a fascinating movie. Basically, the first half of the film, like I said, is about an incident between her and the Catholic Church. She's a Christian woman, and not the Catholic Church, the Mormon Church. Sorry. Anyway, she's a Christian woman, and she got in a relationship with a Mormon man. And now, when his church found out about this, basically the Mormon Church kidnapped him, took him to Europe, brainwashed him, and she kind of went on this journey to find him. She hired a bunch of like private investigators to find out where he went, and you know, they basically kidnap him back and try to break him of this brainwashing. Now again, like I said with the last review, I don't want to get too topical. I don't want to say anything about the Mormon Church or anything. I'm not trying to make any commentary on them. You know, I've known a lot of Mormons. They're regular people. They're nice people. But this is kind of freaky. Just to think, you know, that a lot of churches will go to lengths like this. You know, a lot of organized religions do a lot of very evil things. You know, I don't exactly have any ill feelings towards organized religions like a lot of people do, but it's stuff like this that definitely gives them a very, very bad reputation, you know. And like I said, it's kind of a scary thing, and you know, but she kind of went on this one-person army, this one-person war against the Mormon Church, and she got the guy back, and it didn't quite work out in the end, because you'll see in the second half she kind of lives the rest of her life alone. This documentary is just, I mean, every single second of it is completely captivating, because it's like, I mean, it's a real story about things that you only hear about. Like, you're just like, oh, okay, that's a, you know, you hear a lot of jokes about churches or whatever, and you think they're just jokes, but a lot of time jokes are, they come from a very real place, and you would think something like this could never actually happen, but it did. And I don't want to keep talking too much more about the story and what happens, because it will kind of spoil it. It's kind of best to go into this not knowing anything at all. Perhaps I shouldn't have even said anything, because when I first saw this, I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was it was a new Errol Morris film. I love his movies, so I went down to the video store, got it day one, came home, and I watched it. I had never heard of this woman. I'd never heard of this incident. And that's kind of the best way to go into it. So I'll stop describing things that happen in it, but it is kind of a shocking movie, and it's kind of a scary movie too. You know, I think a great movie to watch in companion to this movie would be Kevin Smith's Red State. You know, that movie's about a church that believes they have the right to kidnap people and kill them for their God. You know. And there are actually people out there like that, and it's a terrifying thing. So yeah, Tabloid. It's a quick movie. It's only 90 minutes, but it's one of the fastest 90 minutes you'll ever experience. I promise you that. This is a great movie. I know a lot of people aren't into documentaries, but this is like one of those documentaries you have to see. You know, this is one of the best ones I've ever seen. This is one of Errol Morris's best films, and that's, again, saying a lot, because he's made so many good ones. So yes, Tabloid, see Tabloid, it's amazing. That's it. Whew. Well, everybody is their own worst critic. You know, I watched the reviews I did, and I'm beating myself over the head, being like, Brett, you idiot, you could have said that way better. You know, you repeated yourself all the time, blah blah blah. I don't know, but I like the candidness of it. I hope to do everything, you know, keep everything raw, do everything in one take, and I just hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I was able to recommend stuff you guys hadn't heard of, and I hope you guys enjoy these movies. I don't want you to always like watch a movie I recommend and end up hating it, you know, because I do that with my family all the time. I'm always talking to my sisters and say, hey, you should watch this movie. This is an amazing movie, and they take my word for it and they end up hating it. I'm like, like first of all, how could you hate that movie? You know, the one we always talk about is Punch Drunk Love. I love Punch Drunk Love. I love Punch Drunk Love. My sisters hated Punch Drunk Love. I don't know how in the world you can hate that movie, you know, but they do. And so I guess, maybe I'm seeing them in a different way than other people are seeing them. I don't know. I just hope I'm able to bring you guys to some movies you enjoy, movies that will challenge you, entertain you, you know, and kind of get some conversation going. You know, that's the whole point of art. You know, let's get people talking. And so, that being said, if you have anything to say, comment. You know, comment on my videos. I hope to post them on YouTube and on Facebook and stuff like that. You know, comment on my videos if you have questions. Ask if you have recommendations. Let me know if you have constructive criticism. Let me know. You know, anything you want to say. If you want to tell me I suck, let me know, because I need to hear it all. I need to hear it all. And you know, if you have recommendations of movies you want me to see or movies you want me to talk about, anything like that, you know, subscribe to the channels, like the videos, watch the videos. That's about all I'm going to say for now. Until episode 2. I hope to have episode 2 up in a few days. And I really got to get going because I haven't eaten all day and it's noon, and that's not okay for me. So I love you guys. I hope you love me too. Goodbye.